Conservative pundits like to quote Andrew Breitbart as having said, politics is downstream from culture, by which he meant that if anti-Marxists want to have any influence on political affairs, they need to find a way to have influence over cultural affairs. And this observation is simultaneously obvious and tragic, even doubly tragic. It's obvious that how people choose politically is a function of their upbringing, but their upbringing is a function of moral philosophy. So to say politics is downstream from culture is simultaneously obvious and incomplete. Politics is downstream from moral philosophy. Everything of human teleology is downstream from moral philosophy. That much is obvious. It's tragic that anyone should need to say it, and it's tragic that anyone should regard it as being some sort of an original observation. We are massively uneducated, and so to say the merely obvious is to deliver a world-shaking epiphany to people simply because they have no connection with the past. But that idea, politics is downstream from culture, is potentially very potent applied correctly, which of course is not being done. Politics is downstream from culture means that people who like to write pretend John Wayne fiction produce work for people who like to read pretend John Wayne fiction, none of which changes anything, particularly because it's all focused at adults. I've talked for 2 years about what would make sense in art if one were seeking to create an art in pursuit of anti-Marxism at a minimum, but ideally at human liberty, at eudaimonia, human thriving, flourishing. Ars Gratia Artis, art for art's sake? No. Ars Gratia Libertatis, art for liberty's sake? Well, maybe. My answer would be Ars Gratia Humanitas, art for the sake of humanity. Cultivate humans, and they'll cultivate everything else you're looking for. Wow, says Ebony. She agrees. No one else does. As I said, I've been talking about this for 2 years. So just simply that, to understand what it is that you're trying to achieve with your cultural products will completely redirect the focus of your efforts. That more blood and gore fests for people who already agree with you will change absolutely nothing. Whereas figuring out what it's going to take to change minds and building your art around that is the appropriate course to take. And that's what led me to the argument of Benety and malady. I've made it mostly in video because there's really no point in writing about this. I write quite a bit for very small audiences, but the audience of people who are interested in my ideas on aesthetics is evidently vanishingly small. I've never had a question. I've never had an email saying, "Hey, Greg, what do you mean by this?" Or, "I get that part, but not this part." Or, "I think you're totally wild-ass wrong, and here's why." Nothing, none at all like that. So if you can't read your own handwriting on the wall, you've really got a problem. But that's the first step in the problem of attempting to change the political environment by means of cultural products, is understanding how cultural products would actually do that, how it would achieve the results you're looking for. So I pointed out that the purpose of an art aimed at liberty should be cultivating the middle class, because that is the problem, that we have a vast underclass of people who see their ongoing survival benefit in the form of Marxist predation. How do you push them off that position? You push them off their own dinner with no foreseeable dinner in sight? That's not going to work. You have to turn these people into productive members of society. You have to help them raise their children to be even more productive members of society, and therefore the art that you're looking for is going to be an art that shows people how to do better at being alive as a human being. Ars Gratia Humanitas, there it is. Art that teaches humanity, and not humanity writ large, not some giant abstraction like John Galt or Jesus Christ or whatever, not something that's impossible for an ordinary person to imagine. They can revere it from a distance and never try to put it into practice because they don't believe they can. This will not be effective. It may be interesting to you, it may be thrilling to you, it may be the kind of art that you want to create or the kind of art that you want to consume, but if you're looking to change human lives, what you need to do is to show someone something that looks an awful lot like his own life, and then show the protagonist doing better over time by learning newer, better ideas and putting them into practice. Duh. This is Benedy. That's it. That's Benedy. If you want to see it in action, watch the movie Chef. I cited it a couple of months ago at selfadoration.com, but it's on Netflix. It's free. It's wonderful. It's fun. It's got a whole lot of other virtues that I really like, but the basic story is what I just said. A guy is in a shithole and he can't figure out why. He looks around and says, you know what, these ideas are pretty damn stupid. Let me learn some new ones. And he learns and masters newer, better ideas, and his life changes for the better in every way. Everyone around him changes for the better too, which I also like. This is one of the things I really like in art. Everybody's better at the end. But this is an art that will make people better. If you're looking for a culture that will influence politics, it's that kind of art. That's the art that will do it. The art that makes people better. I don't even want to talk about malady. I am not interested in malady. I'm not interested in tragedy. I'm not interested in satire. I'm not interested in any kind of art that makes people worse. And you want to know how the Marxists win politically? It's by promoting art that makes people worse. That you take people who are in the shithole and you say to them, not only do you belong there, where you belong is even worse. You should count yourself lucky that you're not in the shithole that you really deserve. Look at this asshole. Look how terrible his life is, and watch it get worse. Waste 2.5 hours of your life watching this idiot's life get worse, and come out of the theater feeling worse about your life than you did when you went in. That's how they win. That's how they win. How do you turn honest, decent, ordinary human beings, people who want nothing more than to live quiet, sane, happy, successful lives, how do you turn them into ravenous predators? You do it with art. You do it with malady. And that's why I have no use for malady, why I have no interest in it, whatever. But if you're looking for the art that will change the world for the better in the way that you want it to be changed, the art that you're looking for is Benedy. And the kinds of Benedies that you're looking for are the kind that I talk about all the time. Not giant world-shaking stories about world-shattering events. As thrilling as those might be, the opera lasts for 2 hours, and when it's over, all you've got is a ringing in your ears. Instead, you're looking for stories where ordinary people discover why they're unhappy with their lives, eliminate those causes of unhappiness, and sail forth with better, happier lives at the end of the story. It's a simple 3-act structure. My life isn't a shit. I learned better, worked hard at it. Now my life is better. Boom, boom, boom. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. Just like that. And you can do it over and over and over again, and people never tire of that story. They never tire of that story. It's a beautiful story. It's wonderful. It makes people better. You come out of the theater, you don't just feel better, you are better, and you'll do better. Maybe just for a little while, but that's why you come back next week to see another very similar film that leaves you even better afterward. And the progress towards better and the progress toward worse, they're always incremental. We saw it in that algorithm that I talked about a few weeks ago. It's an incremental progress. No one goes from off to on with one flip of the switch. If you want to turn your life on, you're going to do it slowly, one step at a time. And one of the ways that you will get that done is by consuming the kind of art that I'm talking about. And so if people who are anti-Marxist, pro-liberty, or simply pro-humanity are looking for an art that will result in better people, this is it. That's the art that will do it. And the very first question I hear from someone about that will be a happy day for me, and I may actually write something down about this. But for now, it's not really a matter of urgency. To the contrary, instead, a much greater moment for me is simply writing these kinds of stories. I've written them all my life, and the more I understand about what I want from art, the more focused my art becomes on that kind of story. And ta-da, here I am today, having launched The Scientific Art of Getting Lost for Dogs by Shiley Delightful. The Shiley from Shiley's Delight, both versions. The Shiley from some of the happiest years of my life. And she was with us for 12 years or so, and she was wonderful every day, every day. And the dogs who lived with her were wonderful in their own ways every day. And it's fun for me just to celebrate the virtues of those animals and to use those virtues as a way of talking to children 4 to 7 and their parents, their grandparents, talking to people who want to do better about how to go about doing better. And I think it's a quiet triumph for me to be able to do this, to be able to take unbelievably serious ideas and present them in such a way that they will resonate with 4-year-olds for life. I say this all the time. I want to get in your head forever. I want to get in your head forever. I don't want to scare anybody now, but I'm writing a book that if you read it to your 4-year-old just one time, I will be in that 4-year-old's head forever. If you read it to that 4-year-old the way that bedtime stories get read, in other words, 37 nights in a row, if you're lucky, could be 137 nights in a row, I will put that child on a vector towards splendor with 4 dumb dogs making one goofy mistake after another, not knowing that they're mistakes, part of the Scroobian joke behind this book. But I can teach philosophy to 4-year-olds with narrative art that will make their lives better forever. You're going to help. There is an Indiegogo campaign for this book. That's how the book is launched today. Instead of launching it on Amazon and selling a few books in the first few weeks and then watching it dribble away to almost nothing day by day, I have built a Indiegogo campaign around this book in order to draw attention to the book, in order to draw attention to the ideas, in order to sell these ideas, I hope, to a larger audience. And so I need your help in sharing this Indiegogo campaign. The link will be on the screen. The link will be down below in Amazon. If I can figure out how to annotate a video, then I may add it in a clickable form, but you can certainly copy and paste. But I need you to share this campaign with everyone you know who has children, who's thinking about having children, who babysits periodically for children, and also to anyone that you know of who subscribes to the idea that politics is downstream from culture, all the way up to the Koch brothers, if you know them, to get these ideas in front of people who can do something significant with them. Give me a lever and a firm place to stand, and I will move the earth. Give me a firmer place to stand. Share me upstream. Politics is downstream from culture. Let me tell you, obscurity is downstream from everything. Share me upstream, and we'll change the world together. If you want 24-year-olds who can think, you have to teach 4-year-olds how to think. And the scientific art of getting lost for dogs, a comic bedtime story, nothing but fun for your kids, will teach your children how to think. And that will change everything in due course. This is the Church of Splendor. Don't you ever doubt it. I'm so glad you're here. I look forward to talking to you again next week.